Imagine a firefighter who, instead of extinguishing a fire, starts new ones, or a rescuer who, instead of saving lives, creates additional danger. This is the destructive role journalism can play when ethical standards are violated during disaster coverage. Disasters are always a test, not only for victims, but also for journalists and media organizations. In moments of crisis, society depends on the media to provide accurate information, context, and guidance. When this responsibility is handled unethically, the consequences are not short-lived. Like radiation, the effects persist long after publication. They shape individual lives, damage public trust, and influence political and social processes for years. Understanding these consequences is not meant to frighten journalists, but to demonstrate the real power of their work. When we understand the harm caused by unethical reporting, we also understand the value of responsible journalism. One of the most serious consequences is the re-traumatization of victims. Survivors of disasters often live in a fragile psychological balance. Traumatic experiences alter how the brain processes memory and emotion, making people extremely sensitive to reminders of what they lived through. Media coverage can easily become a trigger. When journalists focus excessively on terrifying details, use graphic images without necessity, violate privacy, or force emotional reactions, they push victims to relive the worst moments of their lives again and again. Intrusive interviews with people in shock are a form of media violence. Consent given under acute stress cannot be considered fully informed. Questions like, "How do you feel right now?" may seem harmless, but they force victims to re-enter their trauma for the sake of a powerful quote. Violating privacy is another form of harm. Publishing personal data, images of destroyed homes, or intimate moments of grief can stigmatize victims and prolong their suffering. Disasters should unite societies in shared vulnerability, but poor reporting can transform tragedy into conflict. Another danger is the politicization or ethnic framing of disasters. Natural or technical catastrophes become tools to reinforce existing social or political tensions. Unequal coverage of suffering also causes harm. When media focus disproportionately on victims from certain regions, social classes, or ethnic groups, other victims become invisible. This creates the perception that some lives are more worthy of empathy than others, weakening social cohesion and solidarity. Unethical disaster reporting also fuels disinformation. False or distorted information spreads rapidly during crises. Over time, these false narratives can become deeply rooted, especially when they mix fragments of truth with falsehoods. Once misinformation becomes part of public belief, correcting it becomes extremely difficult. In some cases, false narratives even enter official discourse, educational materials, or political rhetoric. Ethical disaster journalism is not only about avoiding harm, it is about actively contributing to healing. Understanding the consequences of unethical reporting should not discourage future journalists. It should inspire them, because ethical journalism, especially during disasters, is not just a profession, it is a public service.